Welcome back to the Sound for More channel and welcome back to another tutorial and demonstration. Today I have the pleasure to introduce you to Testere from Cem Olcay. Before I continue, I would like to remind my viewers to subscribe as it helps with growing the channel. Thank you very much. Additionally, if you would like to support what I do, please do check again instruction contained in each video description, really. Okay, so Testere, it's a Supersaw Synth, 8-voice polyphonic, and it has 7 oscillators per voice, which is fantastic. As you can see here, you have a center waveform, and then you have 3 detuned above, and then 3 detuned below. You have a number of tabs at the top: oscillator, LFO, filter, envelope, and effects. Then in the middle you have this representation on the oscillator tab, of course, of the waveforms on the left hand side, some controls which are organized on detuning controls, phasing controls, and then waveforming wavetable morphing, which is on the bottom side. And then you have a first column of parameters, which of course change your detuning position, your phase position, and also your morphing position here within the wavetable, which is adding that harmonic content. Then your spread for each of the parameters, and then your distribution curve again for each of the parameters. And on the right hand side you have a graphical representation as well, which is really useful. Preset here, and to control your preset factory and use a preset moving left and right, nice and simple. You have also an arpeggiator, which is good, where you can select the octave, the rate, and then the direction, up and down, etc. A keyboard at the bottom if that is what you want to use, or of course you can use an external controller, like in my case at the moment. So I can use that externally. Here you can check the octave position for that keyboard, if you want to hold the note, if you want to minimize it or not. And then you have a setting here, a control settings, and icon to access the settings, where you can change your MIDI trigger, your overall gain, which I actually find is very useful. Your detuning range, which is important when you actually manipulate or you create your presets as well. You can have your LFO to reset on trigger or not, and the same on the envelope. And then you can also decide the range for your sub oscillator, because you do have a sub oscillator as well. Keyboard, of course, octave count, and then the knob control style as you normally have in Cem Olcay applications. And then at the bottom here you have links to your tutorial manual, review the application, leave some feedback, which I encourage you to do. This is version, as you can see, 1.2. Okay, so let's try a bit. So let's start at the top, really. Here you can change your detuning, which is really your central main frequency, right? I find difficult sometimes to go back to 0. If you double click, it doesn't allow you to do that. Perhaps something that could be added in. Here you have your spread, so which establishes your range, right? And you can see how it distances the different oscillator, how they change the distance, and then you change the distribution curve, right? find this very useful as a synth to experiment with Supersaw. So you can create some very interesting preset with a lot of character. Here, as I mentioned at the beginning, you can adjust your phase. You can see the central phase here, and you can see the rotation as well here on the diagram, on the visualization here on the right. Of course, nothing happens, but in terms of sound. But if you were to modulate this, then you start to hear a difference, right? Again, spread. You can see spreading the oscillator mode around. You can see the changes here as well on the left-hand side. And again, your distribution curve. And again, you can see the effect here being visualized, well, both on the right and the left-hand side. If you have spread the maximum, when you change the distribution curve, you actually see more subtle changes, right? Because the oscillator are more distant between themselves. Or should I say they are spread more widely as per spread parameter. And then the last parameter is really to add harmonic content, right? Again, here you change the central position on the wavetable that is used for that morphing, and is really scanning within that wavetable to add the harmonic content. Then the spread here in this case is the range, right? And you're for that window scan on the wavetable. So you can set it really wide for a much wider scanning. And again, then how it goes about in terms of distribution curve. It can create very extreme different type of sounds. So my recommendation is to actually change the parameters on the oscillator tab really slowly, gently, to see what happens. As always, you have a filter here, which is good. You can adjust the cutoff, resonance, standard very much in your filter, and also the envelope generation amount on your filter, for which you can set the rise, so how long it takes to reach the peak, how long it takes to fall, and then the shape of the curve. So, quite important. So we increase the amount, so you have a much bigger influence, as you can see here on the cutoff, or less. Radical changes happen when you use a filter, particularly if you have the cutoff lower, so you have a much more closer filter than you open it, right? How quickly it comes down, so you can change the fall. So you can see it falls very rapidly versus taking longer. So it's taking much longer now. And of course, you don't hear anything at the moment because you need to go to when it falls. So you don't hear a lot when it falls. It's because it depends on the envelope. So much release, for example, you have when you let go a key. So now you have a longer release here. This is your ADSR for attack decay sustain release with a nice representation there. Because I have a longer release, now you can hear the fall, which is greater here on the filter. See, it's taking longer versus taking less. A little bit less. We can change a bit the rise as well. So it takes longer to rise or to open the filter. So you start to get that wow type of sound. Of course, you can adjust your resonance as well. You can really create some really interesting sound. And remember, you can activate the Arpeggiator here. You can change direction up and down. And of course, you can change your rate as well. So if we want to slow it down, for example. Let's see how it performs. For example, if we were to go up 3 octave and go back to 16th as a rate or note subdivision. So you can create a very interesting sound, and of course you can change the curvature here. So when it is right on the right hand side here on the shape, you really have a sharp, right here, sharp up and then down. It takes longer a little bit to go up, but you see the fall. Wow. Make it more subtle if you reduce the EG amount. You set the sustain here on the envelope to 0, start to add a little bit more decay, start to sound like a pluck sound, right? Add a bit more release. At the moment, we don't have any reverb or any other type of effect. You don't have many effects here. You have pan spread. Again, you can adjust the subdivision, and more importantly here, you have your sub level. The sharp fall on the filter, of course, you can adjust it depending on the shape. So in terms of effect, pan and distribution, of course. You really need to have headphones to really hear that. Nice without that EG affecting the cutoff, so it will be very much based on the cutoff frequency which you set, and of course resonance as well. We can even set it to really rise slowly. More. And this is where it becomes really important, the settings you have here. For example, do you want that the filter to be retrigger as envelope now? So we just say no now. Interesting. So back to the effect, you can add ping pong delay. Here you set your ping and pong parameter in millisecond and then the mix, or your dry and wet. So really magical. Okay, remember here you have also sync option as well, which you can enable. And finally, you have a filter, sorry, an LFO, low frequency oscillator. So you set the rate in terms of subdivision. Here at the moment is using a sync mode, but you can disable that. You can set it also to bipolar or unipolar. So if you go for positive and negative value, when it impacts the destination, only positive value, or one direction. And here you set the destination, so you can change, for example, the detune spread, which is interesting. Then yeah, you change the shape of the LFO because it is an oscillator, and then the amount you drive and wet, or the amount of modulation. Really good. Again, depends what you do on the curvature here as well. So let's change the filter a bit. And set these to 0, because otherwise it will be -100. It will have the opposite impact. It will be decreasing on the cutoff. But you can hear the effect, right, of detuning the spread. And you can see the changes here on the visualization on the right hand side. Okay, I like to have a triangle here. Then instead of a sine waveform is better distributed. Let's slow down the Arpeggiator, like so. So you can spend, of course, hours. My advice is be careful on how you change the parameter. You can see here the LFO is going a bit crazy there. So let's reduce this down to 0. I wish you could double click on the parameters, but it's not there yet. Let's remove the Arpeggiator. Give more decay. More release. Go up an octave. So great sound. If you check the preset, they are quite interesting. Some of them are really radical as sound. And that is because of the parameters and how they are configured. So when you go on acid, it can be quite extreme. And then it's all to do with the setting that you have here. Look at the spread and the distribution. So it starts to get really better there. But then it really depends also on the type of music or composition or genre that you are going to create. This is really for more modern type of music. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and demonstration, and as always, see you next time. Bye.